We want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Touring and Cruises. Here's something you might not know. Booking with a travel advisor doesn't cost you anything. Disney pays them after you travel. You'll pay the same price you see online, but Touring and Cruises adds an enhanced level of service. Their expert advisors watch for discounts and apply them automatically, even after you book. And it's not just Disney. They can help with cruises, Universal, and all kinds of vacations. Whether you want help planning it all or just someone in your corner if plans change, they're here to help. And yes, they'll wait on hold with Disney 4 hours, so you don't have to. So when you're ready to plan your next trip, head to touringandcruises.com and tell them Rope Drop Radio sent you. Now, let's rope drop.
Helping you navigate the Disney parks.
With the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.
You're listening to Rope Drop Radio.
Welcome to another Rope Drop Radio. I am Doug McKnight here with Lauren Shields. We have an exciting guest coming on today to finally talk about Disneyland. Just a little.
I'm excited. So go Disneyland, because usually you don't let us talk about Disneyland.
That is true. I do not. Well, you know who doesn't? The ratings. The ratings. So prove me wrong. Everybody download this episode, share it with your friends to prove me wrong on Disneyland here. But hey, your kids are finally out of school, aren't they?
Finally. Yeah, Friday was the last day. So now we're back. We're in summer mode and they're with me like all the time.
Except when we record a podcast. So you get to lock them out, right?
Yeah. And like we're at that age where Luke really needs to be 16 so he can drive himself everywhere, because he can only drive himself to certain places. And it's cramping my style this summer.
Well, Claire has passed half of driver's ed, has their driving test coming up. And I've been riding with her, and it's still one of the most frightening things you do as a parent, is driver's ed.
So in Nebraska, can she drive herself to school on like a school permit?
At 14, you can get a school permit.
Yeah.
We
that's
chose not to do that, because if she really wanted to go to school that bad, she could walk. We can see the school, but we're technically not in the city, so we could get a school permit, even though we are like we can hear the sporting events from our house.
Oh, yeah. Luke couldn't get a permit because they were doing construction and they didn't have enough room for the freshmen to park, but he swims there, so he could come back, get a car, and go to swim. But now they're wanting to swim at the county park because they need a bigger, like a 50-meter pool. And that's far away and no bueno. So it's driving me crazy.
Yeah. So driver's ed.
Fun
Teaching
times.
Kids to drive. It's like the old version of Test Track, like where it swerves and slams on the brakes randomly and gives you whiplash. Yep. That is what teaching a child to drive is like. So I wonder what Test Track will be like, and if we'll ever get an opening date for that. We may.
It needs to open before I go in August.
It
Time's
really
ticking.
does. I'm starting to get worried, but I'm still optimistic for the end of July. But we'll see. Okay, let's move along. How about some Patreon talk, Lauren?
Yes. So we have a new Patreon this week. Thank you to Kimberly Melchin. She is a new Beach Club member. We also had an upgrade. So thank you to Brian Flock for upgrading to Beach Club level. That seems to be the popular level this week, Beach Club.
Yeah, well, it's where you get the news. So,
And the bonus after shows where Doug's in his safe space and rambles.
Well, the after shows are at the Caribbean Beach level. So you also get Beach Club, and you get more as you move up in your
I made you rename all of the tiers, and I still don't
you should get them right, Lauren.
Mentally.
Yeah, and
my bad.
This week on the after show, I haven't told our guests what we're doing yet, but it might just be a refresh of the lightning round for him. So, because it's been a while. I haven't told him that, so I hope he likes surprises. So, all right, Apple review, leave a 5-star review. We will read it on air and love you forever. Or another great way to support the show is just share it with your friends and make sure you're subscribed. But this week's 5-star review is The Perfect Disney Podcast, ? By Kevin from Up. So this bird can type, evidently. All right. I actually just started listening to this in the last couple of weeks due to the fact that we're taking our son on his first Disney trip this Christmas. but I found myself going back and listening to old episodes for a couple of reasons. The information on those shows isn't really outdated, and the shows are still really good. As someone who likes to click mark as played, if he sees a show that he doesn't have interest in, I've not once clicked your show as marked as played. Thanks for a fantastic show filled with great tips and great fun. Well, thank you,
Wow.
Evan.
Yeah, that was super sweet. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
like high marks then.
Yeah, if I could give him a chocolate candy bar, I would. But, there we go.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, today we're going to play a little of Walt Disney World versus Disneyland with a special guest coming up after this break. And we're back. All right. It is time to introduce our guest. We have teased that we have a guest, but I have said nothing. Our guest this week is the one and only travel companion with us many, many times. One of the more opinionated guests that I think we can book, Lauren.
Yes.
And we trust his opinion. And that is none other than Mr. Alex Cenac. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm curious why I got to come on to talk about Disneyland. That's normally one of your lowest rated episodes, but it's not that I'm offended by that whatsoever. So let's see if I can help raise the ratings.
Well, of all the people I can think of, you go to both parks a lot. You frequent both of them. So I feel like you're in a really good position to judge Disneyland versus Disney World, where I might be a little partial. Lauren, historically, you went to Disneyland more, right?
Yeah, when the kids were younger, we did.
So we may all be a little biased. So that's why Alex is here to be impartial. I don't know. Alex, can you be impartial?
No.
Okay.
Well, he's honest about that. I feel like maybe you invited Alex on because you thought it would increase the ratings on a show that you also thought was not going to do well. So maybe it was a high compliment to Alex.
It's the hedge of the bet right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what we're going to do is I have several categories listed out, and we're going to debate what is better, Disneyland or Disney World. So this is a versus scenario. The first couple are the softballs right down the middle of the plate, but then after that it gets dicey. And we're going to start with Alex, go to Lauren, and then I'll finish up, and we'll have opinions about each other's opinions. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. The first one up is, I think, the easiest one. The castles. Which one is better, Sleeping Beauty at Disneyland or Cinderella's at Walt Disney World? Alex?
I mean, can we just move on? Like Cinderella Castle, like it's very jarring when you first go to Disneyland and see how small the castle is. The one thing that I will say about, you know, it seems like they've kept Sleeping Beauty Castle the same. I wish Walt Disney World would go back to the original color scheme for Cinderella Castle, but that's a nitpick at most. So, the ability to have the projections on, through Happily Ever After on Cinderella Castle just augments it. And in fact, you can see it from multiple spots on property. It just kind of draws you in. Sleeping Beauty Castle, it's just nice and cute.
Yeah. I think the balloons are bigger, right? Like you're standing in a main street, the balloons look taller than the.
Yeah, and then the Matterhorn, right? Just right next to it, dwarfs it as well. And so it's that, it's a nice contrast, and you get where are you going to save money when you're building, Disneyland, 75 years ago, right there.
The thing that's not actually a ride. Lauren, do you have a different opinion?
No, I agree. Disney World all the way. I agree. I would like the color scheme to go back. I never liked it for the 50th. I felt like I was in the minority, so I'm surprised Alex said that because I get yelled at from my family. They like the new colors. But I do like the walkthrough for Sleeping Beauty, to give a shout out to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't beat the castle.
No.
Disney World still wins.
All right, let's move on. That was a layup. Here's another one. We're just in the layup lines right now, warming up. All right, this one is pretty simple. Park hopping. What is better, to park hop at Disneyland or Disney World?
Same answer as last. Why are we even discussing this?
Right.
The fact that the two parks are 100 yards across, and you can go to back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, each day with no sweat, it's Disneyland. So
yeah, we're discussing it in case people don't know, Alex.
Yeah, and you're right. So my Disneyland clients that I have going over to Disney World, in general, Disney World clients, you have to explain, how big Disney World is, right? But to Disneyland people, you have to explain a little bit more, because they just have that one frame of reference that, oh, they're just right across the street. How hard can it be? And so it's like, no. It takes a long time to get between parks at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, agreed. We need to get, the only thing with Disneyland is they need to get rid of the 11 o'clock rule.
Oh,
yeah, the park hopping rule.
They still have it. Yeah, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. Yep, just like Elsa, huh?
Well, yeah, at least it's 11, because they can get people to hop over for lunch, right? Yeah, it used to be.
Yeah, and so, it used to be like 1. So and it got better.
And I assume it has something to do with park pass reservations and just making sure they're still controlling, the amount of people, even though it seems to be not necessary. But I assume there's some reason for it.
It'd probably be too much work just to get rid of it, so they'll just leave it, something like that. One positive, if we got to say a positive about park hopping at Disney World, is you can take a nap while you do it. You can't do that at Disneyland.
I'm just gonna not comment.
All right, let's move on. All right, to the real ones now, where there could be a little debate, but maybe not. All right, Space Mountain. They're drastically different. Just how you sit in the vehicle is different. I, just for the record, so people know, I have ridden both, so I can have a valid opinion here. All right, Alex?
Well, they took Space Mountain down in Disneyland for 2 years to fix the track. And, Disneyland is far superior than Disney World. Yeah, so Disney World, we don't even get different overlays, except if it's in, for a Christmas party. But then it's just, they turn the lights off and they just turn the music up to 25. And so, the superior version is Disneyland. The ride vehicles are, superior, sitting side by side. The speakers, so you can hear everything, is perfect. I just don't, I don't know if Walt Disney World guests have the pain threshold to have them take Space Mountain down for that significant period of time to fix the track and then add a track that could accommodate wider vehicles. I just don't know what's going to happen. You assume with Tron they could have that could happen. Right. But who knows?
Yeah. Tron should be able to do that. Or once Thunder's back, maybe then it's time for Space to get its due. Lauren, how do you feel about these two?
Yeah, I like it so much better at Disneyland, especially since we were there a lot when my kids were younger. It was nice to have especially your younger one or youngest one, sit right next to you so you can make sure they were okay the first time. It is weird when you're sitting, they make you sit behind them. And I didn't know if they were okay at Disney World the first couple of times we rode it. So I prefer the side-by-side, and the speakers inside the car is way better. So I agree this one goes to Disneyland.
And then Doug, you have to post a photo of when we rode Space Mountain together at Disneyland. Please post that photo in the show notes. Don't make me post that. So
it encapsulates how I feel about Space Mountain. What I like about Disney World is people argue about who gets to sit in front or behind me.
Which one's better?
None of the above.
Well, if you're moving forward,
goes backwards.
Right, none of it. Correct.
You want to sit in front of me. So that's the only positive I can say about any of it, is listening to everybody argue about where to sit, which usually is funny because usually I get talked into going on it by said people, and then they're like, well, I don't want to sit by you. So
and then I need to see this picture. Are you frightened? Do you look sick?
Yes.
I will need this photo for social media to promote the show.
The picture in Disneyland is at the end of the ride, as opposed to in Walt Disney World, the picture's at the beginning of the ride.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the ride.
Right.
So yeah.
So he looks awful. You must look awful.
I don't think I've heard Alex laugh as much as he did like after that. Like, I think you thought I was just full of it going into that with my motion sickness, and then I don't know. It was a moment.
It was the Galaxy Edge preview day, right? Remember those?
Yeah,
those
days.
Was a
great day.
Yeah. Oh my word.
We went on Smuggler's Run like 9 times in a row. We just walked in a circle. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
one ride on Hyperspace Mountain, and
rope dropped Ogas. The good old,
those were the
days when they actually had a menu.
Having drinks at Oga's at like 7:30 a.m. That was a time. All right, let's move along. So Space Mountain. It is. It's like airport time, park time. It doesn't really matter. All right, character dining. This is character dining as a whole. How does the whole resort do character dining? Like different characters available, different food available, locations of characters. It's a lot to summarize. What do you think is better?
Walt Disney World is far superior, right? And it's just because there are 3 Disneyland character options. The Plaza Inn for breakfast in the Disneyland park. That good food, just random characters. You just never know. It's going to be from Mickey to Minnie to Susie and Perla to Cruella to Winnie none of it makes any sense. And then there's Goofy's Kitchen at the Disneyland Hotel. Same deal. Decent food, just random characters. Storytellers, I'm very interested in going to see the new iteration of Storytellers at the Grand California, and that focuses on, but that's just breakfast. I think Donald is kind of the main focus now. It used to be, again, random characters. It was like the Brother Bear characters and the Pocahontas. But then, then there's Princess Dining, but it's $125 per person, and it's only on the weekends. And that's just outrageous for, any age, 99 to 3, you're $125. So, just the character dining that they have at Disney World, just the various options, I just think it's far superior than Disneyland.
Yeah, I agree. So Disney World, I think, is far superior with character dining than Disneyland. We have had some good experiences with the characters at Disneyland at the Plaza Inn. We had a real fun experience with Captain Hook. But there's just so many more options at Disney World. And I agree, it's typically the same characters each time, except when I go to 1900 Park Fair. And
then you never get what you're promised.
And there's always 1 to 2 characters missing. I don't know why I keep getting skunked there, but yeah, Disney World for me.
Yeah, Disney World, I feel like character dining is part of the experience there, where at Disneyland, I feel like it's just like another option, right? You can if you want to, but if you're gonna really do Disney World and you got kids, I feel like it's part of the experience, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
my guess it has a lot to do with the dining plan.
Yeah,
and the lack of a dining plan at Disneyland. They used to have those vouchers that you used to get for character vouchers you could purchase in advance, but God, that was so long ago. I just and then the resort experience is so way more resorts, and then just characters in general are different in Disney World than they are in Disneyland.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. Another one that I don't know, maybe unanimous. We'll get to some hard ones, I promise. All right, Pirates of the Caribbean. if there's something that I always hear, it's Disneyland people saying, yeah, but our pirates are better. Is that true, Alex?
Pirates is way better in Disneyland. They weren't even going to build Pirates in Walt Disney World until, guests started showing up and started asking, hey, where's the Pirates? And they were like, this is Florida. Y'all aren't interested in Pirates. And they're like, no, we need Pirates. So they kind of had to throw something in, and they kind of did it backwards. And then they ran out of space. And so they kind of had to cut one of the scenes. And so just, Disneyland, is just a blessing by being the original one. And it's the one kind of time they didn't clone it, and maybe they should have. So as opposed to all the other clones they have that they nobody wants a clone. But yeah, the one thing that it's not great about Disneyland is normally there's not Lightning Lane, and so it can be a long queue because and then it's just stuck right in New Orleans Square. It's kind of that convergence of Adventureland and New Orleans Square, and so it's just not. It can get crowded, so
it's a weird queue.
Yeah.
And then Blue Bayou, right? Kind of definitely pushes it over the top too. Just having that aspect to it. Having being able to dine and see the boats going by, seeing Beacon Joe. It's Disneyland is definitely superior.
Lauren, any other feelings?
Nope, I agree with Disneyland's is way better. The queue, I have sat in that line in the hot sun in the middle of the day many a time. So I do kind of prefer the queue of the Disney World one just because you're in the shade.
Yeah.
But that's, if we're just basing it on the actual attraction, then Disneyland all the way.
Yeah, and boy, Disney World really missed an opportunity to try to shoehorn and construct the bar with a view of the attraction. I feel like you could have found a way to throw some windows in somewhere or something. Get it, but they didn't want to tear down walls. They didn't actually want to build anything with this bar.
The default, ideology.
Yeah, but if they were being aggressive with this Pirates bar, it would have been somehow looking into the attraction. But failure again for Walt Disney World Pirates. Okay. Maybe we'll find uncommon ground on this next one between Disney World and Disneyland, and that is stage shows. So we're talking about live productions. Alex, walk us through this one.
I mean, there are no stage shows in, and there is no Frozen, or Aladdin,
right.
That is superior.
That could have won it right there.
Just on its own. Those are Broadway quality, Disney Cruise Line quality, from the actual theater to how it totally, that. Buena Vista Street, right? How it was the perfect, it was just a natural thing to kind of walk and scroll, like, oh, look, there's a theater, and it fit in thematically perfectly, especially, getting off the red trolley and, looking to see Tower of Terror, and then they decided to completely change everything. And it hasn't reopened. Generally you think Disneyland, they have superior kind of, a superior pool of, equity actors, that they can draw from. But I haven't seen the villain show, and I haven't seen the new Little Mermaid show, but just based upon that there's none at Disneyland. I guess that Mickey and the Magical Map doesn't operate. They don't even do anything back there in that old Fantasyland theater.
It's crazy because they built that not that long ago.
Yeah. Those the Princess, and I think they call that the Fantasyland Theater. That's fantastic, where they do the short abbreviated versions of Beauty and the Beast, and it's Rapunzel or Tangled, and those are fantastic. If you sit and watch, and they do them about every hour, and they're like 20 minutes, and it's very similar to Frozen sing along, where they have the two kind of townspeople and they go back and forth. Those people are super, super talented. But without having anything in DCA, which totally
Disney World,
it's Disney World for me.
Frozen was still at the Hyperion Theater, it'd be like, this would actually be a toss up, I think, because we saw Frozen. It was so good. It was probably one of my favorite renditions of it. Tons of talented people, very well done. I don't know why they don't have anything there. I think that's nuts. but there's nothing. It's not even a comparison because there's nothing going on at Disneyland right now. So I think Disney World just kind of wins it by default.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me is I never got to see Rogers the musical when that was going.
Right? And Alex, did you see it?
No, we missed it by like a week.
Oh, they didn't play it very long.
No, yeah, it was limited time offering, and I think it's because they had all the characters because Avengers Campus was opening, and so they had all the costumes, and they had I assumed it was something the studio Disney Plus paid for, and not anything that the park were paying for.
Yeah,
and so which is a common overarching theme that where Disneyland will get a lot of things just because the studio is paying for it.
Yep. Yeah, and if Rogers the musical is still playing, it'd be a toss up, but I think I'd still go Disney World because you have 2 stage shows at Animal Kingdom that's live, Nemo and Lion King both. You have Beauty and the Beast and Frozen at Hollywood Studios. Now the addition of 2 more live shows. I feel like I'm missing something. Epcot doesn't really have a live stage show. They have the Encanto show that would count, right? That the new one.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it?
Technically, I think it would.
We're grasping.
Yeah, so just the volume alone, the live shows, would Voices of Liberty count as a live show? I mean,
1000%.
Right? That alone, I mean, yeah. So Disney World wins that one. All right, onto a singular attraction again. It's a Small World. Very different in both parks, kind of, sort of.
I'm going to say Walt Disney World is superior. I don't like the characters in Disneyland Small World. If you're the facade, Disneyland wins hands down. That line can be brutal, though. That's not a fun line. But you can. It's the secret spot it's where the parade steps off, and then they do the projections for Mixed Magic or whatever the fireworks show that they're doing, and you can see the fireworks from there as well. Just because they launch from behind, and so that's a great little secret spot to watch. But overall, I think the attraction in World is probably it's more original. It's probably closer to the 64 World's Fair version than the Disneyland version is.
All right, Lauren.
Oh, well, you saw my reaction. Jaw dropped when he said no characters. That is wrong. That made it so much better having the characters. I love going to Disneyland. I love being able to pick them out. The kids get really excited to kind of see the little hidden characters. Love it, love it, love it. It needs to come to Disney World. I swear they said this was going to happen like pre-COVID, and then that died with everything else. So total disagree with Alex here.
Yeah. So the characters, I enjoy the characters, but I'm okay without the characters. Here's what tips the scale for me. I like at Disney World how the water extends all the way out to the scene rather than like a trough, right? At Disneyland, it's just like a trough of water, right? So I like that aspect of Disney World, so you can tell it's the newer version, right?
Now that seems nitpicky.
It brings it all together for me or something. I don't know. But so I'm going to go Disney World on that one. Plus the lines inside and air conditioning, for crying out loud. That's important.
Disneyland people, I tried. I don't know what to tell you.
You finally dissented on something. So there you go. It's a Small World. And I don't think I can pick a attraction just because the facade is cool.
Sure you can. You just base it off of a trough.
That actually is part of the attraction. I don't know. The trough is a big deal.
The Christmas version though is awesome. It's cool. I forgot about the holiday version of Small World, that they do in Disneyland. They don't do anything special, so I could definitely see why people would pick the Disneyland version. And
I totally forgot that too.
And it's completely argument. Well, I mean, it's completely ripe and it's the perfect, canvas for those Christmas lights too.
And you know, the It's a Small World song is an earworm. It wedges in there, it doesn't leave. But somehow with that Christmas version, they found a way to make it more painful. That song is worse. So right at your own risk.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to compare some lands. The whole body of work. Tomorrowlands. Which is better, Walt Disney World or Disneyland?
I think Tron is the one kind of distinguishing factor, right? So I think Walt Disney World's superior. They both are problematic. They both are, the 1950s versions of the 1980s, and it's
in 2025.
Yeah,
Right.
and so space is superior at Disneyland, as we discussed. I think Buzz is superior in Disneyland. We'll see what happens come August when they, and how what they do to Buzz Lightyear in Walt Disney World. My youngest was lamenting that they were going to close it. She was like, and I was just getting good at it. And she doesn't like the Disneyland version because she's not good at it. I was like, but that's the whole point. You're supposed to, the rewritability and the ability to remove the blasters makes, the Disneyland version, superior. We have, Disneyland, does not have, the people mover. And so, just people between the people mover and Tron, I think, because Autopia and Tomorrowland Speedway are a push. And so, and then we have Carousel of Progress. So and it's not like I'm part of a team. I'm saying we, but I just, I identify more with Walt Disney World. So I think Walt Disney World's version is Tomorrowland superior.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Right. So my number one reason was People Mover. Carousel of Progress is probably my number two. Tron, I guess. I'm not like, it looks pretty. It's not my favorite ride. But it does offer something that Disneyland doesn't. It has a thrill ride. So that gives it points for sure.
Oh, it has Star Tours, which I completely forgot about. Yeah. But it's the Star Tours in Disneyland suffers the same as Star Tours in Hollywood Studios. Why is it there?
Right.
Yeah.
To be across the park.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad it's open. I'm glad they operate it. And
I thought they'd close it.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what happens. Now, I mean, why not make Star Tours into a Muppets attraction? But what do I know?
Oh,
and so
no.
I know too soon with that.
Too soon.
And so
I mean, honestly, every attraction could become a Muppets attraction.
Pigs in space.
Honestly.
Pigs in space, right? Come on,
it's already.
Oh man,
they're the most versatile group you have. But I'm gonna go Disney World for 3 reasons.
3.
Yeah, the People Mover, which is number 1, and then Carousel of Progress is number 2, and then number 3, Astro Orbiter being up above is just so much kinetic energy that it brings the land to life. Otherwise, the land is just concrete and radiated heat. Right? Yeah. But something about having Astro Orbiter, not that I want to go on it, but something about having up there is spinning rather than like in the way. But at Disneyland, it's like literally like this should just be a walkway, but yet we have this spinner right here.
Well, it bottlenecks that whole area. Like it's just that area is such a mess. And then the one thing that's true about both is that the food is not good in either one.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you want the worst pizza in a Disney park, Disneyland, Tomorrowland, whatever that's called,
it's Pizza Planet. Again, same deal.
It's a shame.
Yes, like it's Toy Story theme, but why? And but yes, that is bad. That is bad pizza.
Alden asked me for a picture of him at Muppets so that he could post on his Instagram. And like, dude, we didn't go on it that often, and if we did, I don't remember taking a picture of you at Muppets, right?
I couldn't find any either.
We're searching
pictures.
Like, so it's really hard for me to get sad that it closed, right? Like my photo history tells me not that big a deal, right? I loved it, but anyway, so I found a picture. So I'm going back by using the map location on the pictures, and way back I had a picture of him at Pizza Planet. There's more pictures of him at Pizza Rizzo's eating pizza than there are at Muppets.
Right?
Yeah, so there you go. All right, let's move along here. All right, another land But this one is identical. So what could possibly make it better or worse? Galaxy's Edge. Is there a better one, Alex?
I think Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland is laid out better, right? They shoehorned it into the back at Disneyland, which why did they do that? But it just flows better. You could tell, like it just doesn't flow. It's just neither of them makes sense to me. But they also made Galaxy's Edge for weather in California, but all the open air market and all no seating, very little covered spaces, is not a good deal, even if it is a desert planet, or whatever it's supposed to be. I just think it's better in Disneyland. The rides are the exact same. They get better characters, because again they have closer access to the studios, and then they're Ogas, and then they do fireworks things there that they just don't do at Hollywood Studios because there are no fireworks at the studios anymore. Rest in peace. But I just think by default it's Disneyland. So.
Have you done the fireworks there?
No, we, when we go to Disneyland, we kind of go on when there's like school holidays. And so we'll go there like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And when we're there, they don't do fireworks on the weekdays.
Oh,
and so because of the neighbors. And so like we'll, we don't go in the summer because we actually go to World. Or if we're in California, we're somewhere else. We're not in Anaheim, and so, But neat vantage point. I've watched them from there. Beforehand when they did the previews, we had a nighttime preview, and you could see whatever fireworks from there. It's really beautiful. I mean, the rock work and it kind of the bursts pop up out, but it's not anything great. And you actually they did that. That special meal at Docking Bay, but it's like you don't even need it because there's plenty of space. It's not like it's so crowded back there. You have to have reserved space. You can see everything anyway. So,
okay. Yeah. So I guess I would pick Disney. They're equal, right? So the only reason I picked Disneyland is because I like going out to the rest of the park and having like a ton more rides to do than Hollywood Studios, which is being nitpicky. They're really pretty equal. It's just there's more to do surrounding it, I guess, at Disneyland than Disney World.
I just like that they get more characters more often. Like they get the character first. Like wasn't Ahsoka there or is still there? I can't remember.
Yeah,
because
Fennec Shand is there. Yeah,
not at Disney World, right?
Yeah,
so
no.
Disneyland just says that's the only thing to separate them right now, and so gotta go with that. Plus, the 3 entrance exits just helps.
Oh, it does.
With crowd flow.
Well, and it just it transitions. You go underneath the railroad track, and like there it is, and so it's not like like oh hi ailing swirling saucers. So.
Yeah. All right. Now a little comparison that's not exactly a direct like this last one, but kind of direct competition. So we have Avengers Campus out at Disneyland at California Adventure, and then Pandora at Animal Kingdom. Which is better?
So right now I'm gonna say Pandora. Because I think it's more unique, right? Obviously they're building an Avatar section in California Adventure, but there's a clone of Avengers Campus over in in Paris in the Walt Disney Adventure Studios or whatever they call it now.
Yeah,
and so,
the newly named.
Yeah, and so but I think Flight of Passage is superior to it just aesthetically. It's the music, the floating mountains, the water, the drums, everything about it is better. I think Flight of Passage is superior to Web Slingers, and even though I love Mission Breakout, that building is a monstrosity. And it's just I can't even stand how they ruin the sight lines like that by making it the collector's, whatever it is. And so I think Pandora, they need one more attraction there. They need, something more to add over there. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'd love to see if they would update the film for, Flight of Passage. There's things to do. And Navi River Journey, if you can hit it, if you're waiting less than 20 minutes, awesome attraction. If you're waiting more than 20 minutes, not an awesome attraction. Satuli Canteen, I think, is probably better than Pimp's Kitchen. The one, thing that's super cool, the Spider-Man stunt show is really neat. And if they could, and then, they have characters kind of walking around. They used to have more. They kind of pulled back a little bit. They got rid of the Doctor Strange show. And so I wish they still had stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens, when, they build the two new attractions at Avengers Campus. I think it'll easily tilt over to Avengers Campus.
Yeah.
But just right now, as it is, I think Pandora is just because it's unique to any Disney park in the world.
Okay. Lauren?
So I think I went Avengers Campus actually here. That's just because I was looking at like the overall whole land, and I like that it seems more lively with the characters. There's more kind of happenings as you walk around. There's not much going on in Pandora anymore. They seem like they used to have some stuff there, and now it's kind of. Did they have
a guy in a mech suit thing?
Yeah,
yeah. They haven't done
seen
that
him
since
in years.
2019, probably.
Yeah. So I agree. Flight of Passage is the better ride. So if I was just looking at rides, that wins hands down. But just the overall ambience, like which one I prefer to kind of walk through, I still prefer Avengers Campus just because I feel like there's always something kind of going on and it's more lively for me.
That's a good one. Michelle beats me on the Spider-Man Web Slingers ride, so I have to say Pandora. I don't like to lose, so it's difficult for me. Yeah, I don't know. I can't do it right or something. I'm defective when it comes to slinging webs. So
yeah, I go into full spasm and my kids beat me like a drum. So.
Yeah, see, I like Flight of Passage. I wish they would have, in this recent round of announcements, announced a third attraction, right? They have the spot to do it.
They need something.
It needs it. But all the attention's going to the other side of the park. So I understand why that wasn't announced for Animal Kingdom. And you're getting stuff at Hollywood Studios and you're getting stuff at Magic Kingdom. So, but really excited to see how much Pandora we get at California Adventure.
It's starting to sound a little questionable, like it's more of a walkthrough kind of thing, right?
I think it's gonna be a boat ride.
Yeah, there's not a lot of real estate. And then when you're where is the walking path going to come from the new garage? And then how, I'm very curious because there's a road behind there, right?
Yeah.
That's that secret road that they drive stuff back and forth between the parks. And so it's, and there's space back there. Just don't know how much, because that show building for Flight of Passage is humongous, and I don't think we're getting because they're getting the Avengers, whatever, I don't even, it used to be King Thanos, but what is the attraction?
I don't know what they're gonna end up doing, because they need to see how the new movies do. They've been so long since they've come up with the idea. I hope they update it.
Yeah, so I don't know what anyway, Avengers Campus is getting the e-ticket. Are they going to add another e-ticket into Pandora, or is it going to be
a C?
Is it going to be a Banshee spinner? No, no. There's no way. But no, I know, but what is it possibly going to be? Over there. Yeah, I guess just why, and then I just don't understand why they just changed the name of the park to Adventure Park 2, right?
Right.
And so I just
Disney XL.
I just don't know. No.
Yeah, it will be interesting. So, all right, so we split that one, so that's exciting. All right, another land comparison. So we're going to compare Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios to either Pixar Pier because that's also Toy Story, right? Or Cars Land, another. So this is a 3-way comparison, however you want to justify liking something. Or you can just say, Doug, you wrote a really dumb question.
Just the neon at night for Cars Land is enough to win any argument on which section is better. The Toy Story Land is the hottest place possibly on Earth.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And I love Toy Story Mania. I really like Slinky Dog Dash. It's fun. That's the hottest queue I think in all of Walt Disney World. And then Alien Swirling Saucers, Mater's, just by him being from Nebraska, makes Mater better. The Luigi flying tires, I wish they'd figure out something better to do with that. But the neon at night at Cars Land is, and just walking through that San Francisco area to that back entrance to Cars Land when you're running in right before park ends to get after World of Color, that area right there where you see the waterfall, that area, that's the prettiest part of any Disney park that I've been to. That Cars Land area right there. So, Pixar Pier, it was fine as Paradise Pier. I get why they changed it all, and then they were adding, Toy Story Mania's over there anyway. But, so I could take or kind of leave any of that stuff. But, Cars Land to me is superior.
Yeah, I agree. Cars Land. I'm hoping that when they add on the car stuff to Magic Kingdom, they do it justice, because it's going to be hard to top that.
Oh, that's too soon.
Too soon.
I'm not.
You're not okay.
No, I'm not.
Alex
okay.
is the only person that has successfully gotten me on a raft to Tom Sawyer's Island. So
yeah,
you're clearly a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I like water. I don't think every inch of space has to go towards stimulation or monetization. I believe it's gonna fundamentally alter the character of the park, and I'm just not a fan. So, and there's tons of space to put it elsewhere.
I'll continue. Cars Land. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Doug. Favorite, I agree. Neon lights. I also love that they just have like the Cars characters come drive through. That's really fun to watch if you're just sitting there eating. Love it. I agree. Then Toy Story Land is probably second for me on this list. Very hot, but very well done. Pixar Pier, they could probably 100% take out, and I would not miss it. I don't like it. It feels carnival-y to me. But the kids always want to go do the things, and I'm like, we can just skip this whole area. I don't know. I just don't love it. So that's how I would rank them. I was ranking them. That's how I took your question.
Excellent. So I would say Cars Land. Just if we went by counter service restaurants, Cars Land wins there because Flo's Cafe is so well themed inside. The food used to be very unique, and it's gotten kind of watered down over the years, but it's still good. Woody's Lunchbox. It has so much potential if they would have just built it as a dang restaurant, right? Like, what the 5-year project to build some shade?
Oh my God. We're going in July, and I can't even, if there's still those barricades up as the exit queue to Toy Story Mania, I don't even understand. There has to be a sinkhole back there.
Something's fallen in, that's for sure. Like
it's been going on a long time.
They're finding human remains or something as they dig. I don't know, but and the bad thing is they serve like brisket and things that look really good, but it's Florida and it's hot, and I don't want to eat that food in the sun.
I've only ever eaten on a bench. The bench on the outside near the bathroom, with the tray on my lap, and it's fantastic. The food is so good, but it's just out of sight, out of mind because of the seating.
Yeah.
And then Pixar Pier, I don't know, is that pizza restaurant even technically in Pixar Pier, or it's into the next section, I think, right?
Yeah, Paradise Garden. Yeah, it's kind of its own.
So there is no food at all, right? There's
Jack Num Num cookies, the angry hot dog.
There's the snow cones.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's lemon type of thing, but
yeah. Well,
so
I mean, the funny thing is, no one said Radiator Springs Racers, which like just Radiator Springs Racers.
You don't even need it.
Yeah,
it alone wins.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
But the Cars Land's so good on its own. So, all right, this next one kind of plays into the too soon part because maybe they'll change stuff up in California just to make Alex happy. All right, Fantasmic. What is better, Disneyland's version or Disney World's? There's lots of ways this could go.
World by 1,000 miles. There's no reason for people to camp out with blankets starting at 6:00 for Fantasmic in Disneyland. I just don't understand why they do it. And then you can't even see anything. Now they have the Columbia and the, they have 2 ships, and their dragon catches fire. But I just.
But they have a real dragon.
Yeah, I don't like the people camping out. And I just saw something from Tom saying how people are camping out for Paint the Night now. And I was like, goodness, can we just not
Paint the
have...
Night?
Yes. Yeah. And so,
enjoy yourself.
I love Paint the Night. I think it's awesome. From the music to, again, the neon, like it is awesome. But I'm not camping out for a parade where they don't throw anything. You don't catch anything. And so, do you
want a politician to come through with buttons?
No, Mardi Gras, dude. Mardi Gras.
Yeah, I was like, that's such a New Orleans answer. They don't throw anything.
Sorry, I'm thinking of local politicians handing out stickers.
No,
that's NOLA.
So it's we just saw Fantasmic in our last trip. And it was fine. It was, we were all the way on the edge. My kids loved it. They've changed it. They got rid of, most of the Pocahontas stuff. And it's not as, it doesn't kind of drag on as much as it used to. And then the ending is awesome. It could use some more fireworks, right? But that's, I like Fantasmic. I like being able to sit and, in my dedicated space, 5 minutes before versus having to stake out with a blanket for 3 hours. So
infrastructure alone for Alex. Okay. And Lauren.
Yeah, same. I want to be able to sit. I like that it's kind of tucked away. It was meant to do that and have that performance, and it works really well.
Purpose built and concession stand.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Which I tell my kids that we're out of money. We can't get anything from. At that point of the day, I'm like, no.
Yeah, which is true. That's not a lie. 9:00 at Disney World. We're out of money.
Nope. It's done. Can you still mobile order to your seat there? Like that was a test thing. I don't know.
Were they doing that?
I think they tested it. That would be, think of the money they'd rake in.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you pull that off. There's just
bubble wands and glow necklaces, right?
Oh my gosh, the worst two things on earth. The spinny glowy things and the bubbles. Too much happiness.
The wave, right? The old music, right? All that Disney Channel music,
Yeah.
It's fun. It's the Disney Channel music that was like popular right before my kids started watching Disney Channel.
Yeah.
It's pretty old.
Yeah, it's like what was new when they, built the stadium basically.
Yeah.
So
nobody knows how to turn off that soundtrack. So it just plays. It plays every night.
Like the sailing away parties for the cruise ships, you can tell which year the cruise ship was commissioned because that's the popular tracks.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, last one. We're going to compare lands again. We're going to go Frontierland. Which Frontierland is the most frontiersy?
Well, I mean, it's in about 3 weeks. It's going to be, Disneyland by default. So
yeah,
I just wanted to get the temperature here.
The problem with Frontierland in Disneyland is that New Orleans Square is so far superior. It is. I mean, that's the best land. I don't know why we're talking about Frontierland and not talking about New Orleans Square. But you wrote.
What would we compare it to?
You wrote the question. Well, yeah. Well,
Liberty Square.
I mean, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, as a proud American, I actually like Liberty Square, but I understand maybe you don't. So, but that's okay. That's okay.
Fighting words.
I enjoy Liberty Square. It has great air conditioning. Hey, a lobby reopened at Liberty Square just for people to go sit in the
indoor
air
spaces, man. That's
Yeah.
somebody at least is thinking, right? That's somebody who
Right.
actually visited the park. Like, hey, you know what? We need more. Like, oh, how'd you figure that out? Well, I went to the park. You went to the what? So
I went to the park with my kids,
Yes,
and they were hot, and we just needed to sit somewhere for 15 minutes.
Yeah, we tried to go to the Haunted Mansion, and the queue was all the way to the the gallows. So so
That's true.
yeah. So yeah, and then Frontierland, Walt Disney World, we have the Bears, even though I don't like the new version of the Bears. I like the old.
What?
I like the old, mature, original version, not
the ones where they talk about beating their children.
It was not the Disney Channel version. I like the original version. And then, do we need another version of Frozen like somewhere else in a Disney park? No, we don't. So we just need
the accountants say otherwise.
Well, so anyway. So, yeah.
I mean, if I can complain about how just talking about Disneyland impacts our downloads, imagine the conversations they have about which songs generate the most business at Disney World, right? And top of the list has to be Let It Go.
Well, yeah.
Right? Something like that.
Still, you think? Must be.
Oh, well, under the sea, and then what? So.
Well, I was thinking like Moana is more updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moana and Frozen. The Frozen crowd's in college now. So think about that.
Yeah. I mean, we took Eloise. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam went
when
for
she
a
was
birthday
little
party to Frozen.
Yeah.
Like that was her party.
They're old now.
They are old.
All right. I'm agreeing Frontierland and Disneyland. The New Orleans Square is nice next to it. Agree with Alex. But the one thing we haven't talked about is the Big Thunder is better there too.
Is it now?
It's longer.
Oof.
I thought it was backwards. Maybe that I read that or I conflated that it was somewhere there. At least their effects work. We'll see what happens when Disney World
work for a week. Work for a week, Alex.
Because that's not opening until what May of next year.
They just said 26.
Roughly, the construction permits I think are through the end of April now.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily how long it has to go, but that's how long it can go with current construction permits.
Yeah.
But some of the finishing touches type of permits, like the operations clearing it, that sort of stuff doesn't require a permit, so it can go beyond that. So whenever there's a new permit, it is mentioned on the news show on Patreon. So
permit
times the permits, all the permits. Anywho, I like the Bears. I vote for the Bears.
He does say it. He's making fun of how you say permit.
I know he makes fun of how I say lots of things. That's why we.
That's a Doug thing because I don't say it that way. I say permit.
Is it Kermit or is it Kermit?
You know what? It's one of those. I didn't spend enough time in speech therapy in elementary school, so it was
Don't
the
get
80s.
Him started. We're gonna have to talk about this off your Patreon now about poor Doug and his speech therapy.
Yeah. So anywho, I like the Bears. I think that the new version is far superior because I can enjoy it, and I'm not questioning why I've happened into this room to hear about someone picking their Switch.
No. Listen, we didn't even talk about Fantasyland, right? Fantasyland and Disneyland, you go to hell in multiple places, not just one attraction, multiple. And so,
what's the other one? Toads and what else?
Pinocchio. Yeah.
Pinocchio.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like the way the fantasy lands are now, they're like hard to compare.
Well, the only thing that's bad at Disneyland is you can't use Lightning Lane on any of those.
Correct. Yeah.
So that drives me crazy. But they do have more and better rides. Like if you took that
Lots of rides.
away, it's
Yeah.
better.
Well, just Matterhorn, is, even though that hurts and it hurts my
The
back.
Nemo subs? What's that do?
Pass. That's
So,
somebody.
well,
That's
there
an
we go.
account. That was an accountant who saw Nemo plush or what, or Nemo
Right.
2. Nemo 2 is like, I mean, also Lasseter, right? And
Yep.
when Lasseter was ruling the world, everything was changing to Pixar related. So
there you go. All right, there you have it. That is our Disneyland versus Disney World. Not sure who won. I think they're both winners. I think you can go either and have a magical time. So we're going to get to the after show. But first, Alex, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? And I forgot to say at the top of the show that you are a travel advisor with Touring and Cruises. So go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
yeah, so it's just at Cenac Travel, CENAC Travel, TRAVEL on Instagram or Twitter. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to weigh in on Disneyland versus Walt Disney World.
Yeah. And you can go to our website, ropedroppod.com. And if you look at this episode, it will have a link to Alex's bio with his links to all his things to follow him on social and all that sort of stuff. So you can find that on our website on the episode page, which is super easy to find. And then click on his name and it will have a little link. And eventually we're going to have a whole page of guest bios. So one cool thing coming soon on our website. If you haven't checked it out, go to Rope Drop Pod. And if you haven't checked out our sponsor, Touring and Cruises, send them an email. Tell them Rope Drop Radio sent you. And Lauren, there's still all kinds of great deals coming for 2026 and even this year, isn't there?
Yeah, there's still a lot of good deals at Disney World. Both Disney World and Universal are open for 2026 bookings. Don't forget, kids get free dining if they're under the age of 10 for 2026. So lots of stuff coming up.
Yeah, all good reasons to go book a trip and to see the construction walls at Rivers of America.
Yeah, and Disneyland 2026 is not open yet, but should open historically sometime in August.
Yeah,
so
that's coming.
Not too far away. So, all right. And make sure you follow us on social media on all the things at Rope Drop Radio. And you can also find those links on our new website, ropedroppod.com. So for Alex and Lauren, this is Doug. Thanks for listening to another Rope Drop Radio.